Every single business I've started before I was ready. And the ones that I haven't, I've regretted. My first company was a marketing agency, and I had to pitch really hard for big 6-7-figure contracts to middle-aged, mid-40s men that not really give me much time. So I had to get straight to the point. I would come straight through with what I could offer, what I wanted, and where I could stay in their company and help them, essentially. So it was the same thing with the panel. I would say, not just, how are you so successful in business? Everyone asks that. You've got to be more detailed. You've got to ask really good quality questions. So you do your background research on them. You'd sit there on the panel and you'd say, hey, I just saw you had, a breakdown 3 weeks ago where XYZ happened. What did you do at that moment? What was your thinking process to get you out of that? Because chances are someone in the audience is going through the same thing.
You have founded 9 businesses. Tell me about some of the ways that you've used both OpenClaw and Claude Code. Katie Stevens, welcome to How Do I Podcast.
Thank you so much. I've been excited for this. We've talked about it for a while.
Me too, me too. And I think that one of the reasons that I'm so excited to have you on is because we treat every single podcast like a business, right? Like that is our point of difference with the agency that I have. And for you, you have founded 9 businesses. You have a huge personal brand that you've grown over that time. And before that, you had some incredible events that you sold out every single time. So I think there's so much that people can learn from you around the brand that you've built and the businesses that you have and lessons that they can actually apply to their podcast that they've probably never thought of. Before we get into it, how many people have you had attend your events?
In total? Gosh, that's actually a really good question. We've been nothing but a sellout since 2017. Obviously hosting my own events, minding her business, workshops as well. So our audience would be somewhere up around the 20 to 25K online, 25,000, and live events we have anywhere between 200 and 400.
Yeah.
Over 8 years, do the math on that, thousands and thousands.
It's amazing. And I've been to one of those events. They felt so different because you always found ways to make everyone in that room connect with each other. And I think that's something that's so powerful as podcasters, right? If we don't have a community, we are just talking to ourselves in a microphone. So building a community is such an important part. And I think with events, something that you've had to do both in your own events and as a speaker and as a host is really bring the energy and get people excited. Like when you're an MC, that's your number one job.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Thinking from that lens of hosting events, what's something that you did to always make sure that people were really, really excited about what was going on?
Naturally, I have really high energy and I'm probably what some would call an extrovert. So selfishly, I think about what I would want. I mean, we talk about all these things like ADHD and focusing and all that sort of stuff. At the end of the day, community is one of those things that a lot of businesses that are in that building phase actually forget. And that was something that we always come back to. And we had those 3 key words or mottos of the 3 C's, which was connect, collaborate, and create. So we always would come back to that when planning events. So what I did was I love aesthetically, visually appealing settings and events, and you just want people to feel part of something. So what I didn't like at events that I'd been to or networking seminars was I felt really alone if I was going on my own. And growing up, my first big company I had when I was 19 years old, a lot of my friends were employed by, other companies. So I didn't really have friends I could bring along to these events. So I went on my own and I would line up to, check in at the event or whatnot. And I would be like awkwardly uncomfortable and embarrassed. Now I look back and I don't know why, but I was so young and I was just like, oh gosh, I'm in this big badass business world.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to connect with people and I just throw myself out there. So when I started minding her business, I thought, I don't want people to feel alone. I want them to feel immediately part of a community and connected. So that was really important with my team. I would have all these touch points at every single one of our events where I would have our team literally scouring the car parks or at the front entrance. And I would say, I do not want one guest to get out of a car or an Uber or park and be on their own for more than like a minute or two. And so we would have our team go meet them and then bring them to the line and connect them with other people straight away. So I guess that was the first touch point of that. And then in the events, it would be everywhere you look, there would be an opportunity for a conversation starter. You might pick up, a little conversation card off the table and it might, say, would you tell me if I had kale in my teeth? And you'd read it and look at the person next to you and be like, would you? And that started a conversation. It was like icebreakers, I suppose.
Yeah.
Stickers on the floor, on the mirrors. Everywhere you looked, there was something to engage in or talk about. And it took away that awkwardness. And that's what really kickstarted the community because people didn't really think about what should I say? How do I introduce myself? Who am I? And people get uncomfortable, trying to put themselves on a pedestal or talk about themselves. So they'd start asking questions.
Yeah. And so much of that has been brought to online communities now as well, in little ways. So really great communities like Maggie Sellers has Hot Smart Rich. They have a massive WhatsApp group,
Yes.
and they have different chats for different parts of someone's life that they might be interested in. Like there's an AI chat, and then there's each city has their own little chat, and then they organize meetups, and that's a podcast community that now has in real life stuff. But even going back to something that's purely online, I've seen so many communities that'll have like, this is how you introduce yourself. And part of the rule of coming into this group is that like, you introduce yourself in this way. And part of being part of this group is that you engage with other people's stuff. So I think, just even thinking about what would you want as a person?
Yeah.
So simple, but it's actually something that a lot of people don't do.
And how many people have forgotten this from that era that we went through with this pandemic? Like we were told to isolate. I feel like we lost touch of ourselves or even touch with ourselves as to how to actually introduce ourselves, to talk, to communicate. I think now than ever, I mean, we're in 2026. I think it's actually going to take a flip where businesses actually need, whether it's live meetups, private forum specific, like you said, topic specific, and communities where people feel heard, feel listened to, where they can have an opinion or where they can get advice on that topic specific. That's what's going to be the biggest builders of business.
Yeah.
Even if it is e-com, you could be selling t-shirts, but people want to talk about, what if it's an activewear line or something like that, they want to talk about their health goals, their fitness goals, what they're eating, what they're doing, where they live, who they're surrounding themselves by, what they're struggling with.
Yeah.
And I think that really is just the basic principle of any business. It doesn't matter. E-com, service-based, it's all relative.
Yeah. And even those tiny little questions that you mentioned there, they're perfect things for you to put on Instagram, as an example, or way through your episodes to ask your community, like, what are you interested in? What are you, if you're a fashion podcast, like having those opportunities, there's a podcast the Shameless team do called Stylish, and they do such a brilliant, all of the Shameless podcasts do this brilliantly, but this one in particular is around fashion. And so they'll have, outfit recommendations and things that they're watching. And then they'll have, people and opportunities for people to vote on things, or like this versus that, or this trend. What do you think about this trend? Like just ways to start a conversation. And that's all online. And that is like genius, as well as the in-person. And as you said, I think with more and more AI, people are just going to crave that. When you had the in-person events, something that was very different about that time versus now, and a lot of podcasters will be able to relate to, is you had phenomenal guests on. Like I remember you had Sophie Guidolin, Roxy Jasenko, all of these incredible women who came to your events and spoke, but you didn't have AI to prep your questions then.
No.
So what did you do back then to
I'm
research?
just a curious kid, Alicia. I'm just that curious kid that wants to know how people got to where they got to through inspiration, motivation. But I did learn way back, my first company was a marketing agency, and I had to pitch really hard for big 6-7 figure contracts to, I was 19 to 23 when I had that company, and I was pitching to like middle-aged, mid-40s men that would not really give me much time. So I had to get straight to the point.
Yeah.
So I learned quickly that, the answer to my question was always going to be determined by the actual articulation of my question. So when I was pitching to these companies, I would come straight through with what I could offer, what I wanted, and where I could stand in their company and help them, essentially. So it was the same thing with a panel. I would say, not just how are you, and how are you so successful in business? Yeah. Everyone asks that. You've got to be more detailed. You've got to ask really good quality questions. So you do your background research on them. You'd sit there on the panel and you'd say, hey, I just saw you had, a breakdown 3 weeks ago where XYZ happened. What did you do at that moment? What was your thinking process to get you out of that? Yeah. Because chances are someone in the audience is going through the same thing. So I wanted it to be relatable. But I think it was just the integration of that and practicing. How many people want to be public speakers or run podcasts? And, but it is so important to be, you don't have to have the best voice, but to be really good at delivery and engaging and keeping people's attention. It's the same thing on, Instagram stories. People get on their stories and they open up their phone, they plug their seatbelt and, hi guys, I just thought I'd jump on here real quick. People don't have the attention span for that anymore. Yeah. It's get to the point. It's a start with a hook, engage with your audience. You are not going to believe what just happened. XYZ, and people are going, oh, tell me, and talk as though you're talking to one person. You don't need to come across as though you're speaking to 5,000 people. People want to feel like you're talking to them. Yeah. And I feel that's what helps people with connection, with community, feeling part of your world. And I see some really good household, like Australian names, personal brands that do that exceptionally. And you just feel like you're just along with the journey. You feel like you know them them really well.
We notice this so much as well on YouTube, and I've spoken about this a few times, is that we have so many clients to look at and analyze the difference between how episodes perform based on how they open it. And so many will, like, it's habit, right? We'll be like, hey guys, so I just had the best weekend and la la la. And there are times and places where those podcasts work when you've already got that relationship with your audience. But if you don't leave with a hook on YouTube, you just see this retention graph fall off a cliff. Like, people just
What is it
don't
now?
care.
It's like 3 seconds to capture someone's attention. If not, you're swiped and they've moved on.
Yep. So on YouTube, you've got like the key moments, 3 seconds, 30 seconds, 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
Okay.
And they're your points, and you have to re-engage with them at those moments. Otherwise, they're gone.
Yeah.
And even like later down the track, there's an incredible creator who is behind the podcast Open Residency. And he was interviewing Callaway, and they were talking about disrupting someone's pattern when they're listening to you as well. Yeah. And so the placement of ads, depending on where you place them, because sometimes when you're listening to a podcast, you're just like going along and enjoying the ride. And if that ad is out of place, you'll almost break them out of their trance. And they'll just like be like, oh, wait, what am I even doing here? Like, oh, this podcast, like, is it good? Is it useful? Is it benefiting me? And that ad placement will actually be what gets people to stop playing as well, which is crazy.
Which also, you know, I guess solidifies the point of like when you hire a marketing agency or when you have a podcast agency to do this for you, is that is their jam. Like that is business psychology. We have AI at our fingertips, right? We can research anything. Information is free, but it is overwhelm, and there is so much. Go back 10 years ago, we didn't have access to all this.
No.
Looking at all this, I mean, influx, it's overwhelm. I do strongly believe that you have to go to somebody that is professional. You get the connection with them and actually be able to build your personal brand along with theirs as well. And I think that's just synonymous for successes anyway, and to find someone that works with you. But working with a company and agency is that they know about these pattern disruptions. I don't know all that. That's not what I'm good at. I'm good at other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, business is spiritual. Business is psychological. I think business isn't just making money. There are so many more layers. I think people get caught up on, the end goal. But just like we're talking about with the hooks, it's interesting because I have conversations all the time, and myself included. We all have imposter syndrome, especially as women, right? How many people go, oh my God, I'm not going to put that online because that is so embarrassing. What are people going to think? People don't care about you 3 seconds later. You are yesterday's news so quickly. We all know we're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. But what happens if you actually don't care and do it anyway? Like, what happens if it works out? What happens if, there's so many, like, the pros and the cons. And one thing I've learned over the years is not to overthink it. Procrastination is literally what will kill any business idea, any authenticity. The businesses, every single business I've started before I was ready. And the ones that I haven't, I've regretted. Because I just feel like I've missed the boat, or it's like, even podcasting, starting a podcast.
Yes.
We've spoken about this, but it's one of those things that the quicker I move, the less time I have to think.
Yeah. And with AI, it is so quick for everything to change, and so quick for other people to adopt this, right? Like, you have an idea. I've seen people literally over the weekend, they'll be like, oh, I really want to launch this platform or build this app. And now with Claude and some of the things that you can do, or any of these other tools, over the weekend, they've built it. And it's like, oh, okay, this is what's going to happen. If you don't keep upskilling and you don't keep learning, someone else will jump in and do it. Will they do it as good as you? No, but they'll do it and they'll get it to market.
Yeah,
and they can test and learn and build with a community and iterate. So I think even podcasting, if you've been thinking of a podcast, there is no better time than now to start, because in 12 months' time, Gary Vee was talking about it the other day. He's like, there is going to be 100 billion new creators come on over the next couple of years, because all these AI influencers are going to come, and how are you going to cut through the noise then?
Yeah.
Whereas now, I know we always talk about Instagram in the good old days, and you look back on it and you're like, when you used to just post some random picture and you get all these new followers, it just magically happen, the algorithm would just find your people. Whereas now you have to fight so hard. In 12 months' time, that battle is going to be 10 times harder.
I agree with that, but there's also elements where I just think it doesn't matter about the followers, because we're actually getting further reach to non-followers. Yes, it is about the watch time. It is about the engagement and how long people will stay watching or scrolling through that carousel, to read and to follow that, story or chapter or the journey. But when it comes to personal branding, that is the ultimate cut through to determine AI versus personal, versus real reality.
Yeah.
And I think we need a blend of both. I mean, I started really heavily getting into AI AI automations. Solidly, I built my first completely automated business in 2021, and it was a completely automated beauty salon business model where it was completely unstaffed. Now, I say that, but I also hear, people say, AI is going to take over and steal your jobs if you don't start into it. Well, is it? Look, in some instances, maybe, but what it is going to take over is people that are using AI. So it will replace you if you're not using AI, but will it replace you? I mean, that's questionable.
Yeah.
I do think, and it's industry specific. However, when it comes to AI, the biggest difference with, breaking through, and the Gary V's, and I think he just masters it so well when it comes to creating content, putting it out, not just the be consistent, be authentic. It's just there is no better time than today other than yesterday. So launch it, do it, stay authentic, stay consistent, all these buzzwords we hear all the time. But how do we determine what the difference is between AI and reality? Well, AI and automation we can use to speed up the process. It should be used as a tool, as not just as a brain, but as a tool to help us cut through where we actually set up these processes ourselves. I used to spend hours and hours writing out how I was going to run these events. Now I can just brain dump all my thoughts, my visions, and it can help just speed up the process to get me 10 steps, quicker in a tenth of the time, or whatever the case. Where do you start with AI if you're not using AI, or maybe you're dabbling in ChatGPT, is start basic. You don't have to be everything. You don't have to be a master of 1,000 different apps and platforms. Start using, if you're not already, ChatGPT or Claude Cowork. But don't use it like Google. It's not just a search engine.
Yes.
It is an LLM. It is a large language model. And it is also prompt engineered, right? So what does GPT stand for? Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It is already prompted to just continue conversations with you. So you go, ooh, ChatGPT is my best friend. It's helping with answers. It's so positive.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, everything I say is great.
Yeah.
But you've got to be critical. You've got to ask these detailed questions to get these detailed responses. Input versus output, right? So the quality of the output that you get from GPT is always going to be determined by the input you give it. Yeah. Refine it. Tell it to be strict with you. Tell it your goals. Tell it, where you want to get to. And don't just use the words no fluff and, the M dashes that it gives you. Give it restraints. Do not give me straight fluffy answers. Give me straightforward answers of how I can get there in the most effective way. Yeah. Put your thinking hat, act as this, da-da-da-da-da. And if you don't know how to actually prompt properly, which I've worked with prompt engineers, and I've just spent the last couple of years really diving deep, is ask ChatGPT to teach you.
Yeah.
Literally put that in. Help me ask and articulate really detailed prompts and questions to, have you as a better working partner with me.
Yeah.
Because it is a thinking partner. And there's no point in just having a conversation like you think it's Google. You might as well just go hire a fifth grader and just have a conversation like that, because yes, the outputs and the content and stuff is going to, somewhat be good, but we can tell it's AI these days. Yeah, how many times do you see a video or people's eyes running across the screen on a reel because they're reading just some transcript that ChatGPT spat out for them, or a caption? I mean, I get 2 sentences in, I'm like, not even. This isn't you. I'm reading AI. I will unfollow people because they are using ChatGPT too much, or these AI platforms. But in saying that, Claude Code is incredible. OpenClaw, Claude Code, these aren't just thinking partners. These aren't strategies. These are actually terminals that sit on your computer or externally and do the work for you.
Yes.
So I think the biggest difference, and for those that don't know the difference between, a ChatGPT and a Claude Code, is that one is just conversational, will give you the tips, the advice, perhaps the strategy in writing, whereas a platform like Claude Code or OpenClaw is actually doing the task for you. It takes over your computer, which sounds really scary, but it can write your emails for you. So you wake up in the morning and all your email responses are sitting in your drafts. It can book a restaurant for you. It can book accommodation. it's not just telling you where the 10 top places to stay in Paris are. It's literally, it can go right through and execute the whole process.
Which is
it's moving quickly. It's exciting. It's nothing to be scared of, but like anything in life, riding a bike, starting a new sport, joining a new community, we all have that feeling of this is overwhelming. This is scary. But, the best things happen when you actually educate and learn and get confident using something, trying something, doing something. That for me, in any business growth, podcast, interview, speaking is like the key to just the golden nugget of getting better and better is just still keep learning.
And I'm so excited to talk to you more on this, and especially around automation, because there's so much that you're doing that is just people don't even think about the fact that these programs could do this for them and the fact that it can actually execute for you. So I want to touch on that. Before I do, something that you mentioned there is like the content that sounds the same. And something that we've just tested doing is we've tested in a unprompted environment, so like an unlogged in ChatGPT or Claude, and we will put in someone's name and we'll ask it to script us questions with like a pretty good prompt. It's still got like, the parameters. You need to go and research them. You need to go and do this. We have found over 80% of the time, the questions are exactly the same. So
between different people,
between different platforms. So like Claude versus ChatGPT, exactly the same. And then we've started looking at like prominent podcasts. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that don't use AI to write their tools, but there's some that I'm like, you've used Claude to write that. Like, I know that you have used ChatGPT to write those questions. And so then we put it in and it gives us almost exactly the same. So something to be really wary of that is if you are using it in that way to script your questions without your own thinking in there, which is something that you said that I think is so important, is that the podcast they were just on the week before and the one they're on the week after is probably going to have the same questions.
Wow.
If you don't change that prompt enough, because it doesn't matter. Even when we got so specific, we're like, this is for a business podcast. And the last one was on health. There were still remnants of the same question because it's pulling from the same database of like, this was their Instagram that I went and looked at. This was their website that I went and looked at. Mm-hmm. Here are the common themes and here are the questions that I think should be good. So like to get really good scripting out there, and we've built a whole brain on this now, which is really exciting. And we're working on a way that we can share that with other people. But if you are just not putting that level of detail into your prompts, the stuff that you get out is just so generic.
It is generic and no one likes generic. People, like I said before, we can get information for free anywhere. So are you going to go to a workshop or are you going to go to an event for free information, pay $500 a ticket? No, not these days. But if it is done with you work, if you're sitting there building things out, which is what we do in our Minding Her Business workshops, and the ones I host is no one wants an influx of information they could have ChatGPT'd or learnt on the fly and then go, okay, cool, now that I know it all, now I've got to carve out time to actually execute it and do the work.
Yeah.
People want to go, right, I went to this event, I took a day off, out of my work. I learnt the skill, I did the skill, I practiced the skill, and I actually have it created, ready to go, walking out. Like I teach all sorts of things from not just automating systems on your computer, but, having time blocking days. And some things are so simple, but we just need reminders. I think that goes with anything. Marketing, podcasting, building a personal brand. Yes, you can show up online every day, but to articulate a really strong personal brand, which is what I teach and educate. I've been working on my personal brand for over 10 years now. I started building out my personal brand solid in 2016. And now I feel like it's a buzzword. Yeah. Oh, a personal brand, you have to have one. I was like, that is what got me to be able to open and sell and exit 9 businesses and companies and evolve and travel the world and be paid for it. And people weren't just paying me for my business and my products. They were paying me for me.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really important, touching on personal brands, is that I really did it the wrong way when I first started. I completely stuffed up. I really just keyholed myself just to be the girl that competed, did bodybuilding, ate protein and had sups, and didn't share anything else of my life. So when I decided that, I've ticked all the boxes, I've got my pro status, I'm done with competing, I'm going to move into a different area of life and more into content creation and marketing, no one really cared. My audience was not that audience. So I had to start again. And I went, oh, okay, so this is actually what it's like. Sold my first, 7-figure company and no one knew who I was because I didn't have a personal brand. That was rewinding way back to 2009 to 2011. And now I look and I go, a personal brand should be exactly who you are, what you are now, but it should be all areas of your life and carry you through to all different versions of ourselves. Whether that be from single life to getting married to motherhood to whatever that looks like for anyone. But a personal brand necessarily, you don't have to share too much personal information, but you have to be personal enough that people feel relatable to you, that you're rinse and repeating the same messaging. And I think that when I meet people in real life, there's certain things they remember, or they might go, oh, you know what, your nieces, because they know that I'm very family orientated. It's one of my highest goals. I do share my family online. Not all the crazy behind the scenes, but things that are important. And that's important to me. I live on the Gold Coast. I share the beach, the lifestyle, traveling, airports. People know that I'm always on the run and on the go. So it's just a topic conversation starter when you run into people.
Yeah.
Whereas I know people that don't share any of that. And they go, I went to Sydney for the day, and they might, take a photo in the room, but there's no journey. There's no, their flight was running late. I know you've shared stuff like this actually. And I love watching your stories just quietly because you feel part of it. You've got chaos of the 2 kids, the husband, the traveling, the flying. Like there's always something going on in your world.
Always something. Do you know what? So many people, even people that come into the studio that I don't even know, they're like, oh, I watched that video of your husband making bread at this shopping center.
I think that's the first thing I said.
Yeah.
I only met your husband today.
You're like, the bread. How's your butter going? Seriously. And it's so funny because people think that is the stuff that they don't want to share. They're like, oh, that's boring. Why would I share that? But that's the stuff that's memorable. Not all the podcasting stuff. Sure, yes, that helps people, that adds value, that builds credibility.
Mm-hmm.
But the stuff that builds connection is all those little moments in between. And so many people overcomplicate that. They're like, I need 5 pillars. It's like, no, you just need to be you.
Yeah.
And what are the 5 things that interest you?
Which, they can be the pillars. I've worked with other agencies and they say these content pillars are really important, imperative. You need these. I strongly agree with when I'm working with my one-on-ones and I build out their content and my team create all that. We do come back to those 3 to 5 strong pillars, but they are areas of what they are.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in the big badass marketing terminology. It has to be easy to understand. It has to be relatable, like we keep talking about.
With those pillars that you do teach, what are the ones that you guys include?
They are actually different for everyone. And that's why we go back to the personal branding is we do not have a cookie cutter. These are the 5 pillars that you must stick to. Yeah. So we will actually, the way I onboard a one-on-one is with the use of AI is I will just record a full conversation and use my AI tool to actually pull out what their problems are and how I can solve them. And we usually build pillars around that. However, when it comes to creating content, if I'm running a workshop or event, I think the easiest way to remember is that when you're creating content, it should be one of 3 things. And it is the acronym of MEE, M-E-E. If it's not motivating, if it's not educational or entertaining, then do not post it because it's just going nowhere. And what I mean by motivating, think about people and personal brands that you follow. Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, Alex Hormozy, whatever. I don't think I've ever followed someone that's not one of those 3 things.
Where does the behind the scenes of someone's life fit in the me? Is that entertainment always?
I think you've got to be raw and real as to who you are and what you do. I actually think people underestimate how interesting their lives really are. It's finding out what in the behind the scenes is worth sharing. We don't need to see the same coffee pouring and the, hi guy, that sort of stuff. But you know what? If there's something unique that you do to your area, if you live on the Gold Coast and you go beach swimming every single morning, that is a behind the scenes of your life. But talk about what you do. Yeah. Let me think, I'm going to try and give an example of you. So your husband bakes bread and that gets brought into, that is a behind the scenes that you're sharing of your life. But you might also be cutting a fruit and this is now bringing in the kitchen, the home life, the family. Yeah. That is a behind the scenes. But then you're integrating that with talking about podcasting, talking about a guest that you just had on the podcast or someone's podcast that you're just about to launch.
Yeah. And every single person in your life and every single human has characters, right? But your characters aren't just people. Your characters are like the studio is a character in our content. Yes. Like our kitchen, yes, is definitely a character. The sourdough starter is a character. We have all these things that frequently make an appearance. The girls, of course, not so much like their faces, but the funny things that they do, absolutely always, are in our content. Yeah. And they're the things, again, going back to what we first spoke about, they're the things that build connection. Mm-hmm. And so as a podcaster, you're going to have the room or the space that you're podcasting in. That's a character. That's something that you can bring people in and
it's
talk
a familiar
about.
setting. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think I said, if you don't have a studio or an office at home or something like that, you can use that same local area that you go to, whether it be the beach, whether when I lived in Brisbane, I'm on the Gold Coast now, but I used to go over the Story Bridge and take that standard boomy. And so when I would go traveling, I'd be in New York, I would do it of the Brooklyn Bridge. When I was in, San Francisco, I would do it of all these different places that I traveled to, and people would be like, that's Katie's thing. But this is obviously when boomerangs, little boomies were trending. And now I'll go over it and people will actually tag me in their stories when they go over it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is what people are remembering me by. Now, do I want to be remembered by a boomy bridge? Not really, but it adds to my story of Katie traveling, what she's doing. Think about what you do every single day. And if there's something repetitional, whether you say it, do it, feel it, whatever that is, go, that's me. I mean, let's think of Adam Sullivan, and he had the banana.
Yeah.
Like the banana was the phone. That was his prop. And how many people correlate they were doing it back to him. He was sharing stories of people doing it. The fly kick. It was just these iconic moves. What is special and unique to you? What is something that people can remember you by, and how can you integrate that in with what you do every single day?
Yeah.
What is your messaging?
I still remember the bridge, and like when you used to do that all the time. And I did. Every time I drove over the bridge, I was like, huh, Katie. And I think I still do that now. Like we don't go that way, but I feel every time I see that and drive over that, I think of you. And so many people think to have an iconic personal brand, you have to wear everything blue or pink or have nose strips or, all of these things. And it's just like, you just need to be yourself. And there's something
that also
in
is
life.
very good. It adds a lot of value to the visuals.
It definitely does, but it doesn't have to be complicated. It could be like a specific type of matcha that you have that you're obsessed with, like, or the fact that you even have a matcha every day. Like, okay, you're the matcha person.
I've still never had a matcha.
Have you not?
No.
Some of them just taste like grass. Some of them are really bad, but some of them are good.
They're good. Yet to try one.
I'm a matcha girly. People love the matcha.
Makes sense.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. But I agree with you that personal branding, so many people overcomplicate it and they think that it is something that you need to put a lot of thought into, definitely, if you want to grow a really strong personal brand, but also just being yourself. Like you go back to the original, like 5-10 years ago, the personal brands that were around then were influencers. And what were they doing? Mm-hmm. They were sharing their life. They were sharing what they were doing. And there was so much thought, and like people just think, oh, they were just sharing what they're doing. No, there was still the same level of like thought, intention to that as well back then.
Do you just think we just overthink things? Do you think there's this information overwhelm where people go, oh, this perfectionism slips in, this imposter syndrome slips in? A lot of my one-on-one clients go, oh, I've just got to do that when I've really got clarity and sit down, and I'm just like, do it now and fix it later.
Yeah.
And that's what AI can help with. Help with your strategy, just a brain dump. We don't have to sit there with pen and paper. We can voice note when we're driving. I mean, I don't use ChatGPT day to day like I used to anymore, but if I'm driving, I certainly just have a chat with ChatGPT if I want to just learn a skill or just educate it around a topic specifically a little bit more. But I think AI is an incredible tool, and why not use them? Yeah. They're there.
Yeah. Tell me about some of the ways that you've used both OpenClaw and Claude Code, because a lot of people will be familiar with ChatGPT, Claude. There's lots of resources on that, right? There's not as many people speaking about agentic AI and the things that it can do. And I'd love to know, because you have founded so many businesses and you are in the marketing world, how are you using those for yourself right now?
Okay, how long have we got? This is detailed. I started very simple. I started with again, being curious, Katie, I was like, if I was doing something in my day-to-day life multiple times, I was like, there has to be a quicker way for this. I would look into automation or AI integration. And they're very different. Automation to me is a flow. It is, a lot of people might use automation without even thinking about it. So when, you have a client that either purchases or maybe they don't purchase and they have an abandoned cart and you carry them through the process, that is an automation flow. And that can be set up on autopilot. When it comes to AI integration, I'm really more focusing on the agents now. So it's a massive shift from just integrating AI conversations and things like that can assist, right down to agents that do it for you. So what am I using it for in my personal life? Oh, I've planned out basically 6 months of travel, of events. I used AI, built out an app through Replit back in June last year when we went to Europe for a month.
Yeah.
And I had the Katie and Luke's Europe honeymoon tour. So this wasn't just an app. This was an app that was dedicated and personalized to me, that if I was in the center of Paris and I wanted to eat, this app knew what food I like, what vibe I like it aesthetic, all these details, and I would just type in that location and this app would spit out the opening hours and then it could go ahead and book a reservation for me. So that is how far AI has come. What do I use it on a weekly basis? AI does my weekly groceries and then it gets delivered every Monday morning between 7 and 9. So I just tick off everything or add it as I go. I've got an AI agent connected through Telegram. Her name's Mia, my master AI agent, and she basically runs my life. So if there's something that I need to do, whether that be not just remind me to send, Harry an email at 3 p.m., we can do that with our Apple iPhones, but I will actually execute that whole process through AI. I've used it for coding. When I first launched Sprayed, which is going back again to 2021, I started having all these technical issues with connecting all these systems to make it an automated business, right? Because we didn't have anyone on site. So I didn't want to learn coding, but I wanted to learn how to fix a problem and utilize a tool that did coding. And ChatGPT helped me embed things into my website through coding. It helped with my marketing. It helped troubleshoot my systems because I could copy and paste my entire manual of my machines and it would go through and filter that. If I was to read it cover to cover, it would have taken me hours.
Yeah.
And then I'd absorb the knowledge and then I'd have to process it naturally as a human. And then I'd have to then try and troubleshoot myself.
Yeah.
That would just save days and days of issues. And, think about all the things of, what part do I need to fix this problem? So that was exceptional. And that was what really probably was the shift for me to go, whoa, I can get not just thinking partners to help me move quicker. I can get coding done for me. And then now agentic AI, like having these agents for you, I've now built out an ecosystem. So I don't just have Mia the master AI agent that does day-to-day tasks for me. Mia looks after and controls my ecosystem. So I've got my content creation, call it a pillar, but it's an agent as well. So then that will go through and decipher all the information there. I set up agents then and work with my clients. I have an AI agent for them. So when I have my one-on-one clients, they're not just dealing with me and my brain. They're being able to utilize all this information about themselves, about our strategy sessions. We can record conversations these days, transcript them, strategize from that, work out, again, back to the quality of the question, the prompting, work out what the really biggest pain points are in their business or bottlenecks, not only just solve them through AI and set up systems, but then work out what their clients need and then grow their business that way.
Yeah.
I mean, this is scratching the surface. I get excited about this topic. I could talk for weeks on it, but essentially, I don't think there's much I don't use AI for. And if I don't use it, I'm constantly thinking in the back of my head, if I'm doing this over and over again every day, that there has to be an easier way.
I know there would have been someone listening right now who has never experienced that AI can do these things because for a lot of people, even just using ChatGPT, I know so many people that have gone into there and then typed it out and been like, oh, this is just dumb. It doesn't work. Because they haven't understood the prompting level that we spoke about earlier. This is a whole nother level and tier. And whilst it does have a slightly higher barrier to adoption right now, it's getting easier now that Claude's doing a lot of really good stuff, particularly in the last few weeks. But, open Claude to set that up, you actually needed to go into the terminal of your computer to do that. And so people would be like, wait, it can do what? And I think you post some incredible content on this. You obviously teach on this as well. What are some ways for anyone listening that has a podcast, bringing it back to that, because there's so much in their daily life they could do? What do you think they could do using these agentic models for their podcast itself?
I love to go back to personal branding because I think it is so important for business growth. It is longevity. Whether your goal is to grow your podcast or grow your business and then sell it for millions and millions of dollars, what are you going to do next? And what do you want to be known for? That is where your personal brand is literally the glue that will always have the consistency and the visibility with your audience and your community. So I would focus on your personal brand and in the background, any tasks that you have. And I don't have a podcast and I don't. So
not yet.
I'm just not yet to stay tuned to be confirmed. What I would suggest is working through those day-to-day tasks like we we're just talking about and building out an agent for that. I would get an agent, I would nurture them, educate them, and I would get it to build out systems that it could set up all your reminders for you so you just didn't have to use that brain power. And obviously, the more brain power and output we have, we start getting decision fatigue. I would just cleanse the brain. We are so good at what we do every day. Focus on building the personal brand, focus on who you're having on your podcast, what you're going to talk about, and use these AI agents to actually build out the strategy if, marketing's not your forte.
Yeah.
So that would be in a nutshell. And then anything in your personal life that's taking you away from what you love doing, aka having your podcast, automate that as well.
Yeah, like your groceries and all these wonderful things. And I think there's so much in there that you still need. Something that you've mentioned quite a few times is that personal side of things. It's like, what are your ideas? Before you speak to any form of ChatGPT, Claude, anything, what do you think? What do you want to learn from this person if you have a guest on? What do you think about the topic that you want to talk about? And then get it to do the work.
Yeah.
And then be like, oh yes, this, and this, because then that's still you. When you get it to write it from scratch, then you're naturally biased and you're going to be like, oh, that's great. Yeah, I'll just talk on that. But that's not your voice. It's remnants of your voice, especially if you've built it properly, but it's still not your brain coming up with that idea.
And that's what I teach in my workshops. I've got one coming up and it's, not just building out, doing the thing in the terminals on your computer. It's actually customizing it. One thing that I should mention is that these AI agents, it's not like you just, click and go and you've got now a marketing marketing guru and a content creation guru. Like you actually can input and give it inputs and prompts to learn skills. Like last week alone, I think I acquired 92 skills across my AI agents. So how long does it take to get a tertiary, degree? 4 years we study in marketing or business or commerce or whatever that may be for these degrees. Also, I'm a university dropout, so I never completed that.
I mean, but got 9 businesses.
But
very
for
successful.
the people that do, no. But, we can spend so much time and brain power learning these skills, or we can utilize AI to learn these skills. And that's what's really, really important. It is key, like absolutely important for AI agents to acquire the skills to perform the absolute best. It is not just prompting. It is not just having a conversation of, I've just set up, basically 10 profiles of 10 quote unquote staff members in my ecosystem. And they're just also good at what they do. You have to train them. It is the same with staff, but you're going to save time. You're going to save money. You're going to save repetition. I use AI for my SOP systems. So I use that for the flows, for the customers, that are buying and purchasing tickets to come to my workshops. They then get the AI bots in conversations if they've got questions. Back when I had Minding Her Business, it's like, for those that have questions, please send an email to info@. And then I'd have staff members that be like, oh my God, we've got this question. And then they'd have to ask me or, someone, for advice and what to, but now it's just like dumping all the information, nurture it, keep it updated. You have to keep it updated. You don't just hire a staff member and think they're just going to grow and scale and evolve for the rest of their career. You've got to upskill them. You've got to teach them. I think you've got to slow down to go fast. I think you've got to simplify. I think sometimes actually this technology burnout is a thing. Remove yourself. It's the same thing. Every time I start a business, sell a business, I need to go inward. I need to actually get pen to paper. As old school as it sounds, I need to actually feed and fuel from my brain. So don't jump and use AI to help you work out what you want to do in life. You will find yourself feeling like a hamster on the wheel constantly. You will find yourself in burnout because you will rely on it solely to try and tell you who you are and what you want to be and what you want to achieve. That is not what AI should be used for. AI should be used to actually complement who you are and to help you speed up the process to where you want to go.
Yeah. And we could literally, as you said at the start, we could talk for weeks on this. And you do such incredible teaching on this. So I think if anyone is like, this sounds like something I really want to learn about, but I don't want to trawl through Instagram or YouTube for like 7 million hours and get who knows what sort of information, then absolutely they need to talk to you on this because you are so knowledgeable in this area and you've actually done it yourself. Plus you have a marketing brain. So like, it's just that perfect formula of like, this is exactly what someone needs. So definitely, we'll pop all the links in the show notes. The one question that we ask everyone to the podcast is, what is a podcast that's regularly on your rotation and why do you keep coming back to it?
Oh, a podcast that I listen to? Oh, well, I'm not going to lie. I listen to yours. How do I podcast? You've got some great apps there. DOAC, Stephen Bartlett. I have listened to Mel Robbins. I go in cycles. It depends. I'm mood dependent. Do you feel like that's seasonal as well?
Absolutely.
I was obsessed with Gary Vee for a good solid years. And then I just kind of went off him because I was drawn towards other, entrepreneurs in that stage. I'm way back in his circle now.
Same.
I love
all the AI stuff. It's
yeah,
so good.
absolutely. When it comes to AI branding, look, really, honestly, I wish I could give 3. I just don't listen to anything that's, I don't want to say brain rot, but storytelling stuff. I just love learning. Like marketing, branding, AI, give it to me. And if you've got episodes and recommendations.
Always. We have a long list.
Open.
We're going to start posting these on, by the time this is out, we will have already, because there are so many good podcasts that people mention on here. I'm like, and then I start listening to them. I'm like, where has this been my whole life? Like there are so many good recommendations. So thank you for sharing that one. Thank you so much for being with us today. Where is the best place for people to connect with you?
Instagram is probably my main social media platform. I'm across most of them, but daily I show up on Instagram. So Minding Her Business or Miss Katie Stevens.
And you might see a story bridge booming.
You might see a story bridge booming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.